Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 2, 5, 21 to 42. Kalam karma swabhavamscha Maisho Mayaya Swaya Atman Yadrichaya Praptam Vibhu Bhushur Upadate. English Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, is Inakshi here? She was supposed to recite in English.
Oh, she's not.
Dear
Is she?
Inakshi?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll continue, but when Inakshi comes, please.
Yes, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah. The Lord, who is controller of all energies, thus creates by his own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities and their particular nature for which they were created, and he again merges them independently.
Hare Krishna. Text 22. Kalad guna vyatkaraha parinamas swabhavataha karmano janma mahataha purushu shadhishtitadabhut.
After the incarnation of the first Purusa, Karanarnavayasu Vishnu, the Mahatattva or the principles of material creation take place, and then time is manifested. And in course of time, the three qualities appear. Nature means the three qualitative appearances. They transform into qualities, activities.
Text 24. Sohankara iti prokto vikurvan samabhutridha vaikari kasta jashascha tamashacheti yadbidha.
Material activities.
Dravya shakti kriya shaktir jnana shaktir iti prabho.
Material activities are caused by the Mahatattva being agitated. At first, there is transformation of the modes of goodness and passion.
It's the next one.
Due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge come into play.
Text 25. Tamasadapi bhutadar vaikurvanad abhunabha tasya matra guna sabdo. Sorry, I missed a line. 1 minute. Oh, 25, isn't it? Tasya matra guna sabdo lingam yadrastri drishya yoho.
Go up yourself.
Enakshi, please recite the English. Thank you. Text 25.
Scroll up, please.
I can't see text 25.
I think we are on text 24. Please, can you recite text 24 English, please?
Oh, okay. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creations, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this.
Text 25. I've just read 25, haven't I? Okay, I go again.
Mataji, we are now on text 25.
Vaikurvanadabhunnabha tasya matra guna sabdo lingam yadrastridishyayoho.
From the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the seen.
Text 26 to 29. Nabaso bhaso tabikurvanad abhut sparsha guno nilaha paran vacha chabdevamscha prana oja sahobalam. Vayurapi vikurvanat kala karma swabhavataha udapadyata tejo vai rupavat sparsha shabdavat tejo shavat visheshash tu vikurvanad ambaso gandavan abhut paran vayad rasa sparsa samda rupa gunan vitaha.
Because the sky is
Vaikarikan, is it up to 29? Yes, Haribol.
Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch, and by previous succession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principles of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is a manifestation of water, full of juice and taste. As previously, it has also form and touch, and is also full of sound. And water, being transformed from a variegatedness of earth, appears odorous and, as previously, becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form respectively.
Text 30. Vaikarikan mano jajne deva vaikarika dasa digvait vatarka pachetoswi vanindropindramaitsakaha.
From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest, as also the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movements. Such demigods are known as the controller of directions, the controller of air, and the sun god, the father of Daksha Prajapati, as Ashwani Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, the worshipable deity in heaven, the chief of the Adityas, and Brahmaji and Prajapati all come into existence.
Text 31. Taija Sattu Vikurvanad Indrayani Dashabhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shaktir Buddhi Pranascha Taijaso Shrotram Tvagriyana Drigjiva Vagdur Medana Griri Payabha.
By further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organs like the ear, skin, nose, eyes, tongue, mouth, hands, genitals, legs, and the outlet for evacuating together with intelligence and living energy are all generated.
Text 32. Yadaite Sangata Bhava Bhutendriya Manogunaha Yade Atana Nirmane Nashe Kur Brahma Vittama.
Mataji, could you scroll down, please? Thank you. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely the elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature, are not assembled.
Text 33. Tada samhatyak chanyonyam bhagavakshati chotitaha sad asatvam apadaya chabhayam sasriyurjuriyadaha.
Thus, when all these become assembled by force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation.
Text 34. Varsha puga sahasrante tadandam udakeshayam kala karma svabhavosto jivo jivam ajivayat.
Thus, all the universes remain thousands of aeons away within the water, the causal ocean, and the Lord of living beings entering in each of them caused them to be fully animated.
Text 35. Sa eva purushastasmad andam nirbhidya nirgataha Shahasrorvangriri Bhakfakshaha. Sorry, I missed it. 1 minute. I've lost my page, sorry. Won't be a minute. Shahasrorvangriri Bhakfakshaha Shaha Shasra Nana Shir Savan.
The Lord, Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it, and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, he entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, heads, etc.
Text 36. Yashye have lokan kalpayanti manishinaha katya adirbhyadha sapta sapturdhvam sapturdhvam jaganidibhi.
Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different upper and lower limbs of the universal body of the Lord.
Text 37. Purushasya mukham brahma shatram etasya bhav avadha urvurvaishyo bhagavataha padbhyam sudro vyajayata.
The Brahmanas represent his mouth, the Kshatriyas his arms, the Vaishyas his thighs, and the Shudras are born of his legs.
Text 38. Puloka papita padbhyam bhuvalokosya nabitaha hirdasvaloka urasa mahaloko mahatmanaha.
The lower planetary systems, up to the limit of the earthly stratum, are said to be situated in his legs. The middle planetary systems, beginning from Bhuvalok, are situated in his navel, and the still higher planetary systems, occupied by the demigods are highly cultured sages and saints, are situated in the chest of the Supreme Lord.
Text 39. Grivayam janalokasya tapoloka sanadvivyat murdhabhi satyalokastu brahmaloka sanatanaha.
From the forefront of the chest up to the neck of the universal form of the Lord are situated the planetary systems named Janaloka and Tapaloka, whereas Satyaloka, the topmost planetary system, is situated on the head of the form. The spiritual planets, however, are eternal.
Text 40 to 41. Tat kat yam katalam kliptam uryobhyam vitalam vibho janubhyam satalam sudham jangha vivam vyam tultata talat alam Mahatalam tu gulfabhyam prapadabhyam rasatalam patalam padala talata iti lokam mayapunam. Sorry.
My dear son Narada, know from me that there are 7 lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as Attala, is situated on the waist. The second, Vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, Sutala, on the knees, and the fourth, Talata, on the shanks. The fifth, Mahatala, on the ankles. The sixth, Rasatala, on the upper portion of the feet. The seventh, Patala, on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat form of the Lord is full of the planetary systems, of all the planetary systems.
Text 42. Purloka kalpita padhyam bhuvarlokoshvanabitaha Svarlokan kalpito murdhya Dhyana iti valoka kalpana.
Mataji, could you scroll down, please? Others may divide the whole planetary system into 3 divisions, namely the lower planetary systems on the legs up to the earth, the middle planetary systems on the navel, and the upper planetary systems, Svarlok, from the chest to the head of the Supreme Personality.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anakshi, Devi, and also Janukanya Mataji for reciting the Sanskrit. Very well recited to both of you. Thank you everyone for joining in for tonight's chat session. Today we'll be speaking on the verses from Canto 2, Chapter 5, and verses 32 to 35. Okay, I'll just quickly share my screen. I'll just check. Can you see that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, chapter 2 is the cosmic manifestation. Canto 2 is the cosmic manifestation. Chapter 5 is the cause of all causes. The verse we're going to be reading is from 32 to 35. Yadayate Sankata Bhava Putendriya Manoguna Yadayatana Nirmane Nasako Brahmavittamam. Translation. O Narada, best of the transcendentalists, the forms of the body cannot take place as long as these created parts, namely elements, senses, mind, and modes of nature are not assembled. Purport by His Divine Grace, His Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The different types of bodily construction of the living entities are exactly like different types of motor cars, manufactured by assembling the allied motor parts. When the car is ready, The driver sits in the car and moves it as he desires. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 18.61. The living entity is as if seated on the machine of the body. The car of the body is moving by the control of material nature, just as the railway trains are moving under the direction of the controller. The living entities, however, are not the bodies. They are separate from the cars of the body, but the less intelligent material scientists cannot understand the process of assembling the parts of the body, namely the senses, the mind, and the qualities of the material modes. Every living entity is a spiritual spark, part and parcel of the Supreme Being. By the kindness of the Lord, for the Father is kind to his sons, the individual living beings are given a little freedom to act to their will to lord it over the material nature. So just as a father gives some playthings to a crying child to satisfy him, the whole material creation is made possible by the will of the Lord to allow the bewildered living entities to lord it over things as they desire. Although under the control of the agent of the Lord, the living entities are exactly like small children playing the material field under the control of the maidservant of the Lord nature. They accept Maya, the older maidservant, as all in all, and thus wrongly conceive the supreme truth to be feminine, goddess, Durga, etc. The foolish, childlike materialists cannot reach beyond the conception of the maidservant. Material nature, but the intelligent grown-up sons of the Lord know well that all the acts of material nature are controlled by the Lord, just as maidservant is under the control of the master, the father of the undeveloped children. The parts of the body, such as the senses, are the creation of the Mahatattva. When they are assembled by the will of the Lord, the material body comes into existence. The living entity is allowed to use it for further activities. This is explained as follows. So just before I read the next verse, I just recite the introduction prayers. Om Jnana Timandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamatamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chakapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sita Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishthabhatale Shrimate Bhakti Swami Namane, and to his confounder Acharya, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishthabhatale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne, Nirvishesa Sanyavadi Pashata Satarne. Kindly seek the blessings of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and to everyone listening on this class, so that I may be able to speak something very pleasing about the glorious topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you. So in this particular verse, on the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the different kinds of living entities that compared to different kinds of motor cars. All the motor cars have different designs, different sort of functions. Some are faster, some are slower, some are very, very super looking, and some are really poorly looking. The living entities, depending on their previous lives, their acquisition of piety, they acquire a certain body, a shape, form, according to their previous nature. Could be a form of an animal, could be a form of a bird, tree, plant, insect, could be a celestial person as well. So according to these different kind of living entities, but the living entities, although they're part and parcel of the God, part and parcel of Godhead, they are actually covered by a body, external body, just like a motor car. It's made out of many, many different kind of components. Has the wheels, has the rubbers in the wheels, has the seats made out of different materials, has all the combination of the engine and the different items required to make it run. But on its own, it cannot do anything at all. Similarly, a body, a material body, cannot do anything on its own. It needs a source of energy. And that source of energy, when a driver sits inside a car, is like considered to be like the living entity seated in a body as well, that makes the body to function itself. Without the living entity, the body cannot function. It does not have any consciousness at all. None of the senses can work or operate in any way, because all the senses, the ability to touch, taste, smell, hear, sight, comes from the living entity. And the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the living entity itself, although it's eternal by nature, it has all the qualities of the Supreme Lord. Just like sometimes you hear the analogy, like a little drop of water compared to the mighty ocean. In terms of like quality, the drop of water has the same quality as the mighty ocean, but in terms of like quantity, it's incomparable. The tiny drop of water is completely insignificant compared to the mighty ocean. So similarly, the millions and millions of living entities that animate this whole material universe are completely insignificant to the Supreme Lord, even though the living entities come from the Supreme Lord himself and are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But the body itself is made of 5 gross elements, which is earth, water, fire, ether. And there's also a subtle body as well, which is made of mind, intelligence, and ego. But we always hear the terminology, we are not these bodies. I remember as a child, we were always hearing this all the time, again and again, we are not these bodies, we're not these bodies. But it's very difficult to understand that we are not these bodies, because whatever we see, whatever we touch, whatever we hear, smell, taste, we actually feel it, feel those senses within ourselves. So how can we say we're not this body? But as we progress in life, we understand the philosophy, we understand the teachings from the Bhagavad Gita, especially in chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is explaining the contents of the Bhagavad Gita summarized. It mentions that the spiritual soul, that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy this imperishable soul. So this body, what pervades the whole body is this, the soul. The soul, the symptom of the soul is consciousness. Now, what is the soul? What is so powerful about it? It mentions that for the soul, there's never birth nor death. It does not come into being, will not come into being, shall not come into being. It is not born or it never dies at all. This soul cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, moistened by water, or withered by the wind. So you can see the significance of the soul, and you can understand why when we're saying that we're not this body, that at the time of death, you're not able to do anything at all. None of your body functions, nothing works at all. It's because the nature of the soul situated within the body allows all these different activities to take place. So when you die, there is actually no consciousness at all. There's no feelings. There's no emotions at all. All this is carried by the symptoms of the soul. Now, the Lord, out of his kindness, he provides the living entity, this material nature, for us to lord it over. Because we want a little freedom from the Supreme Lord, we don't want to be controlled by anybody. That's our human nature. We like to be free, just like a bird likes to fly in the sky. It doesn't like to be inside a cage. The living entities also like to experience this material world. They may have been living in the spiritual worlds with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to our desire to find out what it is to live in the material world, the Supreme Lord, in this whole manifestation, the Brahma Jyoti, there's a little tiny portion where there's a little cloud, and that tiny portion is called the Mahatattva. The Mahatattva is actually created, maintained, and annihilated. And I'll explain that in the next verse that's coming up. But whereas the complete Brahma Jyoti is eternal, it is part of the Supreme Lord. It's the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. It can never die because the Supreme Lord has no beginning, he has no middle, and he has no end at all. So just like the father gives his child something to please him and to make him feel happy, the Supreme Lord, similarly, he gives something to satisfy our material desires. And then he allows us to continue within our day-to-day life, however we want. The Supreme Lord does not intervene in any way. Although we are controlled by the three modes of material nature, but still, independently, we have a decision, a choice to see what is right and what is wrong. And when you have that human form of life, that rare form of human life, you can actually distinguish because you have a high consciousness. You can actually have that intellectual level compared to an animal, plant, or lower species of life. And you can understand who we are, why we're here, what is the purpose of life, what happens to me at the time of death, why is there happiness, why is there distress, why is there different types of living entities and bodies. And all those thoughts are curious thoughts that one should be asking oneself, what is the purpose of life? Is it simply to be born, to play as a child, to study hard, to get married, to maintain a family, to work hard, to have some livelihood, then become old, perish, be sort of acquainted to all sorts of different kind of happiness and distress, which are temporary, of course, but at the same time, it's things that we don't really desire in our life at all. We want to be eternally happy because the spirit soul, by nature, is eternal, Satchitananda. It's full of knowledge, it's eternal, and always blissful. Because it's part of the Lord, it's never in a distressful situation. But because we're living in this material world, we're governed by the three gunas, the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, he mentions that he is the father, the mother, and the grandsire. So he acts like the father of this material universe. And in the particular verse, in this particular Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada refers to 18.61 from the Bhagavad Gita, when he's talking about the driver sitting in the car, and when he moves, he's considered to be like someone seated in a machine. So this particular verse, Ishvara Sava Bhutana Mriteshi Arjuna Tistati Pramaya Sava Bhutani Yantra Rudani Maya. Translation: the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities, while seated as on a machine made of the material energy. So the verse that we were reading earlier on, we were mentioning about how the living entities, when it's seated inside a machine, which is made from the material energy, and that material energy comes from the Supreme Lord himself. Okay, I'll go to the next verse. This is verse 33. Tada samatya chanyonyam bhagavat chakti chodita sada sattvam upadaya jobaya sasri joi ahada. Translation: thus when all this became assembled by force of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this universe certainly came into being by accepting both the primary and secondary causes of creation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, it is clearly mentioned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead exerts its different energies in the creation. But it is not that he himself is transformed into material creations. He expands himself by his different energies, as well as by his plenary portions. In a corner of the spiritual sky of Brahmajyoti, a spiritual cloud sometimes appears, and the covered portion is called the Mahatattva. The Lord then, by his plenary portion, as Mahavishnu, lies down within the water of the Mahatattva, and the water is called the causal ocean, Karanjala. While Mahavishnu sleeps within the causal ocean, innumerable universes are generated along with his breathing. These universes are floating. They are scattered all over the causal ocean. They stay only during the breathing period of Mahavishnu in each and every universal globe. The same Mahavishnu enters again as Garbhadaksha Vishnu and lies there on a serpent-like Sesha incarnation. From his navel sprouts a lotus stem, and on the lotus, Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Brahma creates all forms of living beings of different shapes in terms of different designs within the universe. He also creates a sun, moon, and other demigods. Therefore, the chief engineer of the material creation is the Lord himself, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10. It is he only who directs the material nature to produce all sorts of moving and non-moving creations. There are two modes of material creation: the creation of the collective universes, as stated above, done by Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. Both are done by the Lord, and thus the universal shape, as we can see, takes place. So, in this particular purport, the Supreme Personality explains about the different forms of energies that he expands into for this creation. Now, just about a month ago, I was going through one particular verse in the chat group. It was explaining about the six or the different expansions of the Supreme Lord. The first expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Balaram, and the other four prominent incarnations or expansions of the Supreme Lord are Sankarshan, Vasudeva, Anuruddha, and Pradyumna. And from the second Sankarshan, he expands into the Narayan Purusha avatars. And the Narayan Purusha avatar are the ones which we're discussing right now. So there are 6 categories of avatars. The first category is the Purusha avatar. Here it mentions about Karandaksha, Vishnu, is lying on the causal ocean, known as also Mahavishnu. Then he expands himself further into the innumerable universes. And then within each universes, he expands himself and is situated within this in this of the universe as well. And there is known as Garbhadaksha Vishnu. Then he expands even again into all the living entities, and they are known as Shiradaksha Vishnu. So those are the Purusha avatars. Also the Shiradaksha Vishnus are also the incarnations, sometimes expansions of the Lord Vishnu as well. Then you have the Leela avatars of the prominent 10 avatars, as you know, is Lord Rama. You've got Parashuram, you've got the Vamanadev, Matsya, Kurma, Lord Nishingadev, Kalki. So those are the Leela avatars. The third types of incarnations are called the Guna avatars. The Guna avatars, they govern the 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and they are known as Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva. Then you have the Manvantara avatars. The Manvantara avatars sometimes recognized as the Yagna avatar, also sometimes referred to as the Vishnu avatar, Hari avatar, Dharma avatar as well. Then you have the different Yuga avatars. Normally, the Yuga avatars are also interrelated with the 10 avatars as well, the Lila avatars. And you have a particular avatar for every yuga, for Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. And within the expansions of each of the Lord, with each of the Yuga, it reestablishes the principles of religion. Yada Yada Dharmasya, Klani Bhavati Bharata. So in Satya Yuga, he appeared as Kapila Dev. For Treta Yuga, I did actually quite get the incarnation for Treta Yuga. If anybody knows, please do let me know or let everyone know. But here for Dwapara Yuga mentions that Krishna appears as Krishna, and in Kali Yuga he appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the 6 type of incarnations are the Shakti Avishavatar. Shakti Avisha Avatar are known as the powered incarnations of the Supreme Personality of God. They could be celestial personalities like the 4 Kumaras, Narada Muni. You could have Prithu Maharaj or Vedavyas. They're considered to be the Shakti Avatars. So from the Purusha Avatar, here from this particular verse that mentions that from the Brahma Jyoti, there is a small portion which is called the Mahatma Tattva. But within the causal ocean, where Mahavishnu is lying, is known as, or the ocean is known as Karanjala, and the name of Lord Vishnu is known as Karandakshay Vishnu. When he enters from his breathing, when he breathes from the pores of his skin, comes innumerable universes that are all scattered all over the causal ocean, billions and billions of universes. And in one of those universes, this earthly planet is situated in one of those bubbles. And within those bubbles of the universe, the Lord enters again himself and lies on that ocean of that bubble and is known as Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So when he's breathing, all these bubbles are created, and at the same time, during the period of his breathing, Lord Vishnu is maintaining it. But when he's sort of breathing back in again, the whole material cosmic manifestation, all the material universes, all the bubbles come and merge back into Mahavishnu, as do all the living entities as well. And then the cycle happens again. For every time the Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu breathes, millions and millions of innumerable universes of bubbles appear from the pores of his skin. And then from each of the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, it lies on the Sesha incarnation of the serpent-like snake. And when he's lying on that particular snake, Sheshananta, from the navel spreads a lotus stem. From the lotus stem, Lord Brahma, the Lord of the universe, is born. Now, although Lord Brahma is sometimes recognized as the creator, he's actually an instrument as a creator. He gives forms of and creates a different forms of living beings that gives it different shapes, different species of life, plants, animals, birds, insects, human beings, 8,400,000 species of life, depending on which material universe you are residing in. Could be sun, the moon, the demigods, so forth, all the different universes. When you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains all the different types of species of life, the two-legged life, the four-legged lives, and so forth. And here, although he's the chief engineer of the material creation, all recognize that the chief engineer is actually the Lord himself. And this is confirmed from the Bhagavad Gita. So I'll just share with you Bhagavad Gita verse 9, chapter 9, verse 10. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. And this rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So it's the Supreme Lord. He is creating this material nature from one of his energies. So it's even mentioned, even the universal form, which appears within the universal bubble, is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Even if hundreds of millions of suns to rise at the sky at once, that may resemble the effulgence of the Supreme Person. So you can imagine, even hundreds of millions of suns that were to rise, that may emanate the light that's coming from the universal form. And if you can imagine, there's billions and billions of universal forms. So you can imagine how powerful the Lord is. And even within the Bhagavad Gita mentions that that's the supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon or by fire, electricity. So there's no need of anything artificial, or any planets like the sun or the moon to light this Brahmajyoti. The effulgence comes directly from Krishna himself. So I explained about the different types of incarnations of the Supreme Lord and the Purusha avatars. Now, within the this particular verse which I shared with you, the material nature, which is one of my energies, which is working in the mind direction, there are many, many other verses in the Bhagavad Gita that actually explains about the Supreme Lord creating this material universe. Does anybody know of any particular verse? One of the verses from the Chatur Shloka, the first verse? Nope.
अहं सर्वस्य प्रभवो मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते.
Good, very good. Thank you, Amogadas. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service with all their hearts. So that actually explains that the Supreme Lord is the creator of both the spiritual and material worlds. It's not that although he passes that seva to Lord Brahma to populate the material universe, but actually the energy, the Shakti is actually coming from the Supreme Lord himself. Another verse is, he mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the creation and the annihilation. Just the 3, 4, 5 verses where Krishna says that he is the creator and the annihilator as well. And the other verse which I mentioned to you, I am the light of the sun and the moon, the sacred syllable of Vedic mantras, or rather, that Supreme Bodha mind is not illuminated by the sun or moon. But there's another particular verse, I am the light of the sun and the moon. He mentions that also in the Bhagavad Gita as well. So this effulgence of the Supreme Lord, all this planetary system comes from the Supreme Lord itself, not by anybody else. And earlier on in one of the previous verse, Prabhupada also mentions about how there's a little misconception about why people worship Durga Devi. They feel that Durga Devi is the creator of this cosmic material manifestation. She provides everything for our necessities. Unfortunately, there's a little misconception because Durga Devi is actually the Prakriti of the Supreme Lord himself. She is an energy of the Supreme Lord. She is Shakti Devi, who gives in power, energy. Just like you have the sun and you have the sunshine. So one without the other cannot happen at all. So Durga Devi, although she's always there, but she's also subordinate to the Supreme Lord. So people unfortunately wrongly conceive the Supreme Truth to be feminine, Goddess Durga Devi. And similarly, people feel that Lord Brahma is the creator and Lord Vishnu is just like the maintainer, maintaining the material universe. But no, it isn't. Lord Vishnu is the creator, but he's given that empowerment to Lord Brahma to maintain and to create progeny into this material universe. And then on that particular verse, 33, it mentions about the primary and the secondary causes of creation. Now, from reading this particular verse, does anybody remember exactly what the primary and secondary causes of the creations were? Okay, so basically the primary creation was Lord Vishnu. He is the creator of this whole universe. There are two modes of material creation. The creation of the collective universes, as stated above, done by Mahavishnu, and the creation of the single universe. So when we were mentioning in the purport, Prabhupada was mentioning that from Mahatattva, from Mahavishnu, all the different universes are created, bubbles of universes are created from the pores of his skin when he's breathing out. And then from within the universe, you've got the single universe as well, which is created. And within each universe, you have a Lord Brahman, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu as well. So those are the primary, secondary universes. Right? I'll just go to verse number 34. Vashapaga sasrante tadanta muda keshayam kala kama sabhavasto jiva jivam ajivayat. Thus all the universes remain thousands of aeons within the water, the causal ocean, The Lord of living beings entering in each of them caused them to be fully animated. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is described here as a jiva because he is the leader of all other jivas, living entities. In the Vedas, he is described as Nitya, the leader of all other nityas. The Lord's relation with the living entities is like that of the father with the sons. The sons and the father are qualitatively equal, but the father is never the son, nor is the son ever the father who begets. So, as described above, the Lord as Garbhodaksha Vishnu or Hiranyagarbha Supersoul enters to each and every universe, causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature. It's confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 14.3. After each annihilation of the material creation, all the living entities are merged within the body of the Lord. Now, after creation, they are again impregnated with the material energy. In material existence, therefore, the material energy is seemingly the mother of the living entities, and the Lord is the father. When, however, the animation takes place, the living entities revive their own natural activities under the spell of time and energy, and thus the varieties of living beings are manifested. The Lord, therefore, is ultimately the cause of all animation in the material world. Now, I'll just explain a little bit on this verse if we do have time. But then the final verse is Sa eva purushas tasmad andam nirbidaya nirgata sahasrava agri bhavaksha sahasrana shirashavan. Translation: The Lord, Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it, dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, entered into each universe, assumed the Virat Rupa, with thousands of legs and mouths, heads, etc. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The expansion of the planetary systems within each universe is situated in the different parts of the Virat Rupa, universal form of the Lord, and they are described as follows. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining on the previous verse, 34, that the Lord is described as Jiva because he's also considered the master of all the living entities, and is also considered to be Nitya, or described as Nitya as the leader of the Nitya. Nitya means eternal. So within the material, within the universe, material manifestation, and also in the spiritual world, there is eternal living entities, and there's also the Bada living entities. The Nitya eternal living entities always stay within the supreme abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Bada living entities, they could also fall down if they desire to be away from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for some unknown reasons, they may fall down. As we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, many celestial personalities, demigods, have fallen down from the spiritual world back to the material world. So in this particular verse, it refers to 14.3. If I share that with you, sorry, if I go back quickly. Mana yoni mahar brahma tasmin garbhandadamiyam sambhava savam bhutanam tato bhavati bharata. Translation: The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I pregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings. Son of Bharata. So there's another beautiful verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It should be understood that all living entities, all species of life, are made possible to this material nature, son of Kunti, and I am the seed-giving father. So here it explains the same Brahman that the Supreme Lord impregnates, giving birth to all different types of living entities. So again, once again, when Lord Vishnu is breathing, all the bubbles of the universes are created within this material causal ocean. And then once again, when it breathes back in again, this material universe is destructed. And that happens within the breath of the Supreme Lord. Within that breath is one life of Lord Brahma. And within that life of Lord Brahma, you can imagine there's millions and millions of our lifetimes as well. So we've got to try our best to get out of this spiritual world, to go back to the spiritual world and stay there eternally with the Supreme Lord and never fall down again. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada has given this valuable instructions of bhakti that allows us to be connected with devotees within ISKCON to allow us to progress in our spiritual journey by following and surrendering the choice of the disciplic succession. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If there are any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to say as corrections as well, please do so. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay, Shriji Kishore, if somebody wants to, is
Hare
somebody singing?
Krishna. Yes, I'm here, Prabhuji. Can I ask Jyoti Mataji to share the lyrics of the bhajan, please? Thank you, Jyoti Mataji.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare Krishna. Shall I read something?
Yes.
Yes, Mataji, if you could do the recitation. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. All glories to Radha and Krishna and the divine forest of Vrindavan. All glories to the three presiding deities of Vrindavan, Sri Govinda, Gopinatha, and Madan Mohan. All glories to Shyama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Govinda, Govardhan Hill, and the Yamuna River, Kalindi. All glories to the great forest known as Mahavana, where Krishna and Balaram displayed all of their childhood pastimes. All glories to Kesigad, where Krishna killed the Kesi demon. All glories to the Vamsi Vata tree, where Krishna attracted all the gopis to come by playing his flute. Glories to all of the 12 forests of Raja. At these places, the son of Nanda, Shri Krishna, performed all of his pastimes. All glories to Krishna's divine father and mother, Nanda and Yashoda. All glories to the cowherd boys, headed by Sri Dama, the older brother of Srimati Radharani and Ananga Manjari. All glories to the cows and the calves of Raja. All glories to Radha's
The
divine
introduction, background.
father and mother, Rishabhanu and the beautiful Kirtida. All glories to Purnamasi, the mother of Sandipani Muni, grandmother of Madhumangala and Nandimukhi, and beloved disciple of Devarsi Narada. All glories to the young cowherd maidens of Raja. All glories to Gopeswara Seva, who resides in Vrindavan in order to protect the holy Dham. All glories to Krishna's funny Brahmana friend Madhumangala. All glories to Ramagata, where Lord Balaram performed his rasa dance. All glories to Lord Balaram, the son of Rohini. All glories to all of the residents of Vrindavan. All glories to the wives of the proud Vedic Brahmanas. All glories to the wives of the Kaliya serpent. Through pure devotion, they all obtained the lotus feet of Lord Govinda. All glories to the place where the rasa dance of Shri Krishna was performed. All glories to Radha and Shyama. All glories to the divine rasa dance, which is the most beautiful of all Lord Krishna's pastimes. All glories to the mellow of conjugal love, which is the most excellent of all rasas and is propagated by Vraja by Shri Krishna in the form of the divine Parakya Bhava Paramalov. Remembering the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda's consort, Sri Janava Devi, this very fallen and lovely servant of Krishna sings the Sarkirtanam of the holy name. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jyoti Mataji. So just to mention that the lyrics of the bhajan that are showing on the screen are slightly different to the bhajan that we're singing. So I've got it on my phone. So Avani and I will be singing the bhajan which is on our mobile phone, not the one that's on the screen. Sorry about that. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Mataji. Am I displaying something else?
Yes, it should be number 3 in brackets, but it's showing number 1 in brackets. So it doesn't matter, Mataji.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, Mataji.
No worries. Okay, we're ready now. Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Rasika Mukutamani, Jai Gopigan, Rasika Mukutamani, Jai Gopigan. Radhe 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 Sham, Radhe Radhe Sham Sham, Radhe Sham Yugal Naam मेरो है जीवन राधे श्याम युगल नाम मेरो है जीवन ओ जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण मेरा एक प्राणा तन एका ही है जीवन नंद नंदन मदन मोहन राधिकर मन नंदन नंदन मदन मोहन राधिकर मन ओ जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण श्याम ही सुमेरो प्यारो श्याम ही मेरो भरता श्याम ही समायो आतो यमतन मन श्याम ही समायो आतो यमतन मन ओ जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण मैं तो हूँ वही सच्चा रे राधे रानी की मैं तो हूँ वही सच्चा रे राधे रानी की नित्यदाम वृंदावन महारानी की नित्यदाम वृंदावन महारानी की ओ महारानी की महारानी की महारानी की नित्यदाम वृंदावन महारानी की बोलो जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय वृंदावन रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण नित्यतम नित्य सेवा नित्य पावतोयम राखुरुचि सोई जोई ठाकुरानी की राखुरुचि सोई जोई ठाकुरानी की ओ जय राधे जय कृष्णा जय हो
जय वृंदावन रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण रसिका मुकुता मानी जय गोपीगण
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai, thank you so much. So beautifully sung, so nice. I was trying to see if I could find that particular verse that you were singing, and I couldn't find it either, but I've heard that song previously. So thank you very much to all of you. Any other messages or comments? I just hope you all had a nice Easter break as well. Okay. I offer my obeisance to everyone. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you,
Nandi Kota
Prabhuji.
Vaishnava Ki Jai. Thank you, everyone.
Jai. Ananta
Have a
Koti
wonderful
Vaishnava
week.
Vrinda ki jai.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for nice class.